in my living room, and I'm here to talk to you today about Paneidolism. And to those of you who don't know what that is or don't know who I am the writer who wrote Seal, Sigil, and Call, a new approach to ritual magic. And in that, I give you my view on my own self-developed form of ritual magic, which I call Paneidolism. And I'm going to talk to you about that in the next 30 or so minutes. So, what is Paneidolism is probably where we should start. Paneidolism is called as such because it comes from pan, many, and then eidolon, because it states that you are surrounded at all times by spirit entities, and people have lots of different names for these things in different traditions, and I call them eidolons in mine. So let's start with what the basics of that are. It's a methodology for contacting and communicating with intelligent entities. It allows for self-definition of magic and the tailoring of the method to your own unique practice based upon the choices you make about how to engage with it. So it's not prescriptive. It's encouraging you to develop your own practice and kind of a buffet style based on what I provide in the book and the different techniques and methods therein. So it has some strong thematic synergy with panpsychism, insofar as it leans heavily on the idea that there's an all-permeating consciousness, a thought pulse that suffuses all things. The universe itself is conscious, magic itself has will. And going from there, it also shares a lot with animism, insofar as it believes all things, to a degree, and certainly all living things, are possessed of spirit and are able to communicate through that spirit level. And it has some thematic synergy with ritual and ceremonial magic, insofar as it comes from a place of you are enacting ritual, you are directing energy, but it is not quite as linear as some forms of ceremonial magic, insofar as it's really meant for you to take and make your own. And a little background on me, as a little aside here, I am someone who has ADHD, and therefore linear things are not always as intuitive to me. So the system of magic I developed is much more focused on self-direction through the series of exercises that it contains. It also has some thematic overlap with archetypal autosuggestion. So there is the idea that when you are engaging in panidalist magic, you can choose to come at it from several directions. There is an external paradigm in which you're saying that the entities I am communicating with are physically or metaphysically extant entities. So saying that I'm actually speaking to a spirit of, justice, of fire, of love, and that is coming to me and speaking to me and communicating. Or you can go from an internal paradigm. An internal paradigm states that what you are doing is you are instead contacting parts of your deep subconscious and drawing them to the surface to manifest qualities that will help you in your life and help you in your personal growth. So those are external versus internal paradigms. And I try not to tell anyone which to go for, which is why I don't really discuss mine a whole lot, because I want people to engage in it in a way that is going to help them. And it also has a lot of overlap thematically with classical. When we talk about classical, we talk about like ancient Greece sorcery and the idea of speaking to the spirits of the land through ritual, through invocation. So moving forward, it also has some practical philosophy that shares with chaos magic and the grimoire tradition, insofar as it's telling us that our will shapes magic, the kind of duet between us and the will of magic itself, and that our intention is a little more important than the reagents that we use. It's a self-initiatory process, so it's not necessary that someone else initiates you into the Panidalist system. In my book, I have self-initiatory rituals for you to set your intention to working with those spirits and energies. It is pantheon agnostic, meaning that it doesn't matter what deities or deity or lack thereof you engage with in your own spiritual practice. It can interface with your practice regardless of that. So you can say if you're someone who is following a Hellenic path, or someone who's following a Norse path, or someone who is just generally spiritual, doesn't really matter to this practice. This practice just wants you to thrive, and you can do that in any way you interface with spirit. So it's inclusive. That's one of the things I was really passionate about for this, is that I didn't want it to say, you need very expensive, reagents, and therefore it is, financially non-inclusive. You need to be a specific type of person or in a specific place in the world. No, as long as you can read or be read or somehow digest the concepts in the book, you can practice this magic. It is for you, as long as you are someone who wants to engage in it. So let me talk about the core philosophical statements of the actual work. And that is that first one is that the only necessary tool for magic, tools, are intention and the will to apply that intention. It also states that extrapersonal entities are best treated as colleagues rather than as servants or as masters. That is to say, you are not serving a spirit or an eidolon in any way, nor are they your servant. They are a colleague. You are joining together to accomplish a common goal that you have set forth. It encourages the magician to work toward the greater good of a more compassionate and just reality. So I see some comments here. Runa says that they're distracted by my stone. Thank you. This is a trilobite, and this is a megalodon tooth. And these are actually tools used to communicate with an eidolon that I actually just posted on my Instagram. Just once in a while, I just share other eidolons that are willing and happy to work with others that have come to me or that I have spoken to and have asked to do that. And that's all part of the Paneidolism system, is sharing the illumination of eidolons. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. And also, aside from working always for the greater good, there is the idea that you can use the system as presented, or you can tailor it in whatever way that most resonates with you. So you can say, okay, I want to adapt all these rituals in this book to, instead, of using the verbiage that's been put forth, or, if there's a symbol that's been used, I want to use something different that resonates with me, and I want to use different terminology for it. And that's not only totally okay, that's encouraged. It's encouraged that you make your practice your own. So now that you know kind of the philosophical underlayment there, how does it work? That's, probably something we should talk about. So it focuses on achieving a balanced state of present moment awareness in which you're attuned to the all-permeating consciousness and energy of the universe. And from there, you can make contact with intelligent entities through the use of seals, sigils, and calls, hence the name of the book. So the central operating agents are the magician's tome. So I say that I am not writing a book only for you to read. I am writing a book for you to write your own book alongside, insofar as you are keeping a tome. And that is a log of all of the rituals, the experiences you have, kind of a journal of how they make you feel, what you might see or hear or experience through them, and also what we call the magician's arc. And that is just a shorthand term for all of the eidolons you have contacted, which are going to be the 18 in this book, or a selection of the 18 in this book, and as well as every other eidolon you may illuminate in the future. And the process of illuminating eidolons is finding your own eidolons out there, manifesting your own, contacting your own, discovering your own, and logging them in your tome. There are a few of the tools you might use. There's something we call the scepter of art, which is a philosophical construct of will. So essentially it is an energetic scepter that you carry with you that serves as a focus for your will and manifestation of the magic in this book. Then there is a scepter of artifice. So like the human body is a receptacle for your consciousness, the scepter of artifice is a receptacle for your philosophical scepter of art. And so you might use that physical scepter when you're doing a more elaborate ritual where you have the time to cast a formal circle and do what you need to do in there. But a lot of the magic in this book is designed to be done on the fly while you're out, in the world, doing what you need to do, you can call upon an eidolon to assist you in the ways that you need. And that is done by first forming relationships with these eidolons and then learning how to call them. The more you are familiar with them, the closer you work together, the more you will be able to just be, at the grocery store, or wherever you need to be and call them. One of the examples I put is, let's say you are someone who has stage fright and you are trying to conquer that, and you are in a play and you use something we call an emblem, which is kind of a beacon for an eidolon to come and act in a specific intended way. You will call them in right there, no circle needed. You're simply using a circle of your own design, as we call it, which is simply a circle of will. It is you projecting a space of safety around you. And you'll say, hey, please come. For instance, the first eidolon is associated with ideas of joie de vivre, love of life, celebration, musicality, revelry. So you might say, first eidolon, come and help me to, conquer my stage fright. So it's on the fly, in the moment magic that is developed through a working relationship with those eidolons that is originally developed in meditation and ritual. There are a few self-initiatory rites, such as the creation of that scepter of art. There's something we call the circle of concentric ascension, which is a ritual you work yourself through. And when you work yourself through that ritual, you are stating to existence your desire to work with these energies and to work for the greater good and to work for your own ascension as a person, your own development as a person. And then there is the passage of the octadecagon gate, which is a ritual presided over by the 18th eidolon, who's the eidolon of justice. And it is a ritual that you walk yourself through in order to start illuminating your own eidolons. So in this context, once again, what an eidolon is we are talking about, either you may identify it as a deep part of the self or the oversoul, or an external entity that is working with you to achieve beneficent goals. I tend to categorize them into 3 different categories, but I will put out there that, once again, these are my suggestions. And as you deepen in your own practice with the Paneidolism system, really it's meant to be tailored to you. You might categorize things differently, or you might say, I don't feel like categorizing my eidolons, which is absolutely fine. I, however, categorize them into celestials, who are higher vibrational entities. They are very easy to communicate with. They'll communicate with you in direct transmission of thought, direct transmission of idea. Then I have a second category who I call otherworld spirits. Many different types of entities can fall into this. They're not hard and fast lines. So an otherworld spirit might be a fae, or it might be a deity, or it might be an elemental. And they are entities that can speak to us in a very similar to human conversational manner and vibrate on a very similar band of existence that we do. So that's saying, well, a celestial might come in and inspire us directly with just, information beamed into our intuition. Another world spirit's more likely to actually have a conversation with us of some sort. And the third categorization I use are primals, which are kind of entities that are in a slower vibrational frequency. So chthonic entities of, deep elements, entities of earth and stone that communicate with us much more through glimpses, signs, flashes of emotion, and are not really adept at speaking on a human level in words or metaphor. They're very literal and very solid. So then we're using our seals, our sigils, and our calls. A seal is an image. It is a circle that has a certain geometric or pictographic symbol collection in it that is meant to be almost the phone number of an eidolon. You meditate on that seal to achieve contact. Eventually, once you have a working relationship with that eidolon, you will develop or assign to them something called a sigil. And a sigil is a small kind of token that, while you're holding it, you can aid in communication with them. So a sigil can be something physical, like a megalodon tooth, which this is a sigil I use, or it can be a simply drawn symbol on a piece of paper. For instance, the first eidolon sigil, all of the 18 eidolons given to you to begin your practice in my book, all of them will have their sigils and seals and calls provided to you. The only thing they don't have is their names. Names are kind of a personal calling card. You don't want to share the names of your eidolons. So even though later on, if you might develop a working group in this system, you'll come and say, well, I have an eidolon that wants to speak to you. Like on my Instagram, I say, this eidolon says they're happy to speak to new magicians or anyone. Give them a call and see if they respond, if they resonate with you. It's like a friendship. You have to see if your energies jive. But the name is how you identify one another. They know what names they give to whom, and you know what name they are to you. So you generally don't share those, which is one of the reasons I also give you ciphers in my book, so you can write the names in code, which will only then be hopefully known to the people who've read the book, who will hopefully understand that you shouldn't be going and reading other people's eidolon names. And so I put them on eidolon cards, which I give to people, and might say, oh, hey, if I were to have a working group, which I don't right now, but I'm thinking of amorphously possibly starting one again, since my sister moved. I haven't really worked, been mostly solitary. But if you have a working group with people that you work together, you can say, hey, here's an eidolon card, just on some cardstock or an index card. Maybe try meditating on this seal and talking to this eidolon. I think they might like to work with you, and they're open to me sharing that, and that is very important. You want the consent, and as you do in all things, you want the consent of an eidolon. An eidolon is a conscious being, and it deserves the same courtesy anyone would about consent. So if they do not say, yes, please share my seal so I can talk to new people, don't share. All the eidolons in my book have given me the permission to allow them to be shared so they can work with new magicians trying to understand this form of magic. And then there are calls. So you have your seal, your phone number, the sigil, kind of your quick message. And then you have the call, and the call is how you phrase. You might say, I stand in a circle of my own design, name of eidolon, and then usually an epithet. So you say first eidolon, say actually the name they give you, laughing Lord of Melody, come with me and inspire me, abide with me that we may accomplish. I have a question here. Do you have any who told you not to share about them? Yes. My arc of eidolons is very large. I've been doing this for almost 30 years now, which is kind of surreal, honestly. So I have eidolons who are more private and don't really want to hand their seals out to people, or they might come and say, hey, this one person that I think I could benefit from working with, please give my seal to them. But please don't put it on your Instagram, for instance. Whereas I have others, like one I shared a few days ago, who were just like, yeah, I'll work with anybody, I'll entertain that possibility. Just give them my seal, I'll talk to them, and if we want to work together, great. And if we don't, I'll say sorry, maybe not. And that's that. It's very conversational. So, and that's another thing I'll say also. And when I called the first eidolon the Laughing Lord of Melody, I use a lot of terminology where you might call someone Lord or King or Queen. All physical form and all ideas of gender for an eidolon are very amorphous. An eidolon is a concept. The first eidolon is music and joy, and it will appear to you in a way that you can best comprehend it. So the first eidolon appears to me, as you can read in the book, as kind of an elfin, fey-like figure with a harp who, is a young male presenting figure. So I would call them, a lord, because it speaks to them presiding over a concept, but it's not a worshipful title, and nor is it a hard and fast title. I know that the first eidolon appears to my sister, presenting female, and I know that they are concepts that wish to translate themselves to you in the way that you can best understand them. So you can use any honorific when you're talking about them, and you can use any pronoun that they give you, because I just want to make that clear, because I do not want to force any identity onto an eidolon that doesn't exist. because they are not limited by any form of self-expression. They're totally amorphous and capable of being what they need to be to communicate to you. So you have a good question here from Karma, and it says, do they sense the connections between us and who they can benefit to be in a relationship with? Yes. So this is a good segue into our next part, which is how can eidolons enrich your practice? A lot of ways is that they can serve as guides, and they are kind of hanging in the background. They're in your group chat, so to speak. So if they see you interacting with someone who, they think that, oh, this person can benefit from what I can provide and we can work together, they might give you a nudge and say, well, this person that you've been talking to, I feel like they could use a little more, insert whatever their concept is. Shannon says that they can't wait to share this with their trans son. Think it will really serve him. My sister is trans, actually, and a lot of my writing is informed by that kind of idea that we shouldn't be projecting identities onto other people. So I think so. But let me know if he enjoys it. It's magic that I worked a lot with my sister when we were younger, before we lived very far away. But so I was saying eidolons can serve as guides, and then can jump in and say, uh, yeah, this person can benefit from my presence. So some other ones, they can create emblems and gates. Emblems are what I was saying before, instance-based magic. So you can say to an eidolon, hi, we're going to develop a call sign. Like whenever I say this word and use this, hand motion, etc., you will know that that is a signal for you to come in and provide this sort of energy that I need. So that's an emblem. And then there are gates. Gates are much more what one would think of as a traditional sigil, insofar as gates are energetic patterns that are anchored to objects. My Insta, once again, is full of gates. They're usually circles. They have symbols or even just drawings that drawings that represent what that energy is trying to do. So, for instance, a gate for protection could be an elaborate geometrical sigil, or it could be a shield, over a mountain with, a broken sword or something like that. And that's just the physical anchor for the energetic pattern that is that gate. And gates can also be triggered, insofar as you can assign an eidolon to watch over that gate. Since they're not limited by space and time the way we are, they can have their eyes, so to speak, their consciousness on things many at a time. So they can say, okay, uh, whenever someone walks through this door who needs healing, I want this gate to trigger and send them healing energy. And so it's not going to be sustained all the time, but when it's needed, this eidolon will discern, oh, someone needs this, I'm going to turn it on for you. And that is not to say a gate can't be left on always. I very much stress that in this practice, you are trying to develop a channel, a conduit of universal energy through you. So you're not using your own energy for really anything. You are acting as a conduit, a radio receiver for the signal of energy that's coming from existence, and then you are directing that where it needs to be. So you yourself, your energy is always unassailable and whole. So where can we learn more about this? You can learn more about this in my book, A Seal, Sigil, and Call, A New Approach to Ritual Magic, and I provide you with 18 specific eidolons that are amenable to contact. I give you meditative and energy focusing techniques to prepare yourself for that contact, not just throwing you into the deep end. And some more ways to work with eidolons, and several practical guides and related tools and techniques for the system of magic. So we got about 5 minutes for Q&A before I must bid you adieu for Llewellyn to prepare for the next wonderful presenter. So if anyone wants to put things in the chat, I will answer some questions, and then, I will bid you merry part. Carmen says, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening to all of my presentation. And if anyone has any questions that they think of later, my Insta is, oh, Nathan Hall says, thank you. Nathan, I just read his book on a plane flight, Path of the Moonlit Hedge. I recommend it. So if you have any other questions, I am at JR Mascaro on Instagram. It's my main, my main way of contacting people. I also have a Facebook, which is JR Mascaro-author. That's my author Facebook. I have a personal Facebook, but I don't usually accept things on it because it's already mostly full of my family. And thank you everyone for the thanks. I'm really excited to be sharing these concepts I've been using for so long with people, and hear about other people's experiences with them and other people's eidolons, and the idea of other people forming working groups and sharing rituals they've developed. There's also formulas for developing your own rituals in the book to kind of give you kind of the stanzas for you to put your own lines of a poem into. And you can also find me at jrmascaro.com, where I have my events page that should list all the things I'm going to be appearing at online and in person. It has all the recordings of my prior online appearances there as well. Towards the bottom of the events page, links to all of the podcasts and such have been on. And I will be at Mystic South is the next thing I'm going to be at in Atlanta. Hope to see some of you there. I know I will see some of you there. And thank you very, very much for joining me. I really hope that this resonates with people, and that you go and illuminate your own eidolons and tell me your stories about your unique form of this practice that you develop, because that's what it's for. Thanks. Elohim says, thank you. And that was amazing. Oh, thank you, Elohim. I also love your work. I have a lot of wonderful authors in this book, in this chat right now. And other people are saying they're going to be at Mystic South. Awesome. I hope to see you there. I will be doing a signing, and I will be doing a little ritual workshop, very likely, in the Llewellyn suite. So I hope to see you there at Mystic South. And thank you all so much. It's 10:28. I'll give you 2 minutes to grab a glass of water before your 10:30 or 9:30 Central. I'm on the East Coast, so it is 10:30 for me. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for listening. And like I said, any questions you don't think to answer, to get an answer for now, just find me on Instagram, and I'm glad.